Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CSL. I am Reverend Skip Jennings, your Associate Minister. I always say that there is no place like CSL where you are free to say the word gay. Yes. Here at CSL, we have 7 core values, and they are love, healing, oneness, abundance, spiritual growth, service, and diversity. Today we're going to focus in on spiritual growth. We have a great book that we're reading this month. It's called Universal Human, and it's by Gary. It talks about how we are multi-sensory beings. That is what Gary Zukav calls an evolution. I believe that spiritual growth is about recognizing that we are evolving. We're a part of a universe, some people call it God, I call it love, that is always expanding more of itself. So true spiritual growth is waking up to your divinity, waking up to who and what you are. You're a divine emanation. And it requires an acronym I like to use called FLOW. Some of you know what FLOW stands for. F is for faith. Have faith that your spiritual development and growth is happening now. L is for love. Love yourself through each and every step of your evolution. O, be open to have a new experience. When we are having a new experience in God, we begin to expand. And W, be willing. Be willing to do the work so your spiritual growth takes place. The growth we like to talk about is meditation, prayer, gracious giving, fellowship. These are all the things we must be willing to do to cultivate our spiritual growth. Today, our core value is spiritual growth. Namaste.
CSL is part of a global organization with over 500 centers worldwide. We're a spiritual community that honors all faiths and all religions, and that's because we know there is no wrong way to experience or express God, whether you're worshiping, whether you're lighting a candle, repeating a mantra, or offering a prayer. So we celebrate the diversity of different religions and religious practices in our ceremony this morning we call the Flames of Faith. The candle is lit for the Tao to honor the universal path of harmony, the natural way. The candle is lit for shamanic traditions, honoring the belief and practices of all indigenous peoples worldwide. The candle is lit for Hinduism to honor the spiritual path of devotion and the variety of religious icons and deities. The candle was lit for Judaism to honor the path of sacred law. The candle is lit for Buddhism to honor the Four Noble Truths and the way of compassion. The candle is lit for Christianity to honor the Christ consciousness that lives in all of us. The candle was lit for Islam on this holy month of Ramadan to honor the path of peaceful submission to the will of God. The candle is lit for the universalistic religion of Baha'i to honor the path of unity. The candle was lit for our own faith, which we call New Thought, Ancient Wisdom, to honor the metaphysical path and the practice of universal spiritual principles. And finally, last but certainly not least, the last candle was written for peace and for the peaceful acceptance of all peoples, all faiths, and all spiritual practices worldwide. Reverend Skip, you ruined my surprise. I was going to come out today, but now you've already said gay, so can't wait till June, Pride Month. So I was at a party a few years ago, and this guy walked in that I had an instant attraction to. There was something about him that drew my attention, and it wasn't his looks, it wasn't his body, it was his spirit. You know, when he walked in the room, the whole room seemed to just get brighter, like somebody had just turned on a light. He came in laughing at something that someone said, and he had that kind of contagious laugh, you know, that somebody has that when they laugh, it makes you want to laugh. Have you ever met somebody like that? I mean, and you just instantly like them, don't you? You want to spend more time with them. You want to hang out with them because their energy is so positive. And of course, just the opposite is true as well. I remember one day long ago in my other life, before I became a minister, I was in a business meeting and was introduced to my new boss. Now, that was a man I took an instant dislike to. Before a single word could come out of his mouth, by just the way he carried himself and walked into the room, I knew this relationship is not going to end well. He was arrogant, he was self-absorbed, he was unkind, the kind of person that you just instantly want to get the hell away from. Have you ever had this experience? You meet someone and instantly you're just attracted to them, you like them, and others you instantly just don't, and you don't even really know why that is. I mean, if someone asks you, why do you like him so much? You're like, I don't know, I just do. You don't really have an answer. And if someone says, why do you love that woman so much? And you go, I just do. I just do. It's interesting, isn't it, how we can read people without really knowing much about them or having any experience or history with them at all, and yet somehow we just know. Something in us is naturally drawn to love and to joy, and something in us is naturally repelled by arrogance and unkindness. What is this something in us? What could it be? Now, maybe you've had this experience too. Last week, I woke up and I had my friend Cheryl on my mind. I don't know why, I was just thinking about her, and she lives in another state. I don't know why she was on my mind at that particular morning, but there it was, and 2 minutes later, I get a text from her. This happens to me a lot. I don't know if it happens to you, like you're thinking about someone, and then all of a sudden they call you or you hear from them. Has that ever happened to you? You start thinking about somebody, and then out of the blue, you hear from them. What is this extra sensory skill that we all have? Where does it come from? Why is it that we like some people, we dislike others instantly, even though we have no history, no experience with them? And how is it that we're able to connect with someone mentally, even though they can be thousands of miles away from us? And how do we know some things are going to happen before they happen? Can some of us see into the future, or do we all have ESP? Have you ever heard the term eagle eye? You know, she's got the eagle eye. You know why? It's because eagles have vision that are 7 times better than we humans, than our human eyes. They can switch from monocular to binocular vision using one eye at a time or both. And this allows them to literally look in 2 different directions at the same time. Imagine if we humans could do that. We could actually text and drive safely. Yes, you could. You would be able to keep one eye on your husband and the other eye on that gorgeous man that just walked in the room, right? And no one would notice. My dog Quentin has better hearing than I do. He can hear sounds that I can't. In fact, there's a number of species on our planet that have better hearing than we humans: bats, rats, and cats. Did you know they can all hear better than us? And when it comes to our senses, our human bodies just didn't really get the best. I mean, we only have 5: touch, taste, hear, smelling, and sight. And they're actually inferior to a lot of other species in our world. So how is it that nature compensated us? What did we get that the other species didn't? Maybe you figured out by now. I may not be able to hear as good as my dog, but I can listen with my heart. I may not be able to see as good as an eagle, but I can see things with my intuition. I can sense the spirit of another being. I can tell if their heart is pure or not. I can tell when they enter a room if they're living in faith or hiding in fear. I can tell if they're happy or sad. We all can. We are not limited to the 5 senses of these human bodies. We are multi-sensory beings. That something in us, that knowing that comes out of the blue, is spirit that lives in us. It's the inner knower, some people call it. It's the animator of the body. It's the consciousness in your brain. It's the love in your heart. It was there when you were born. It was there before you were born. It will be there when your earthly body expires to walk with you into your next grand adventure, whatever that is. You are more than just a physical body born on a certain date in time. Your consciousness precedes your body and prevails beyond it. My teacher's teacher was a sassy man, Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, and he said this: "I am more than a birth certificate waiting to be a death certificate." About 30 years ago, Gary Zukav wrote The Seat of the Soul, which became a perfect classic, right? An instant classic in New Thought movement. In his new book, our book of the month called Universal Human, he wrote this: "You are a powerful, creative, compassionate, and loving spirit that has chosen to participate in the evolution of the human species. Your origin is not merely biological. Your experiences are not only physical. Your gifts are far more than they appear." Now, I don't know about you, but I have no memory of making a choice to come to this planet to participate in the evolution of the human species, as he says. I don't know that my purpose is to uplift the consciousness of the entire race, but I am certainly willing to do my own work to be a better man. The truth is, you can't heal anyone else until you heal yourself. Only the healthy can help the sick. Be healthy. Only the rich can help the poor. Be rich. Only the well-loved can help the lonely. Be well loved. If you be lifted up, those around you shall also. Now, here's the thing that most people don't know. They got it, as my grandmother would say, bass-ackwards. They think that we live in a vastly expanding universe. They look into the night sky, they see the stars, they look at the pictures of outer space, and they say, wow, it is overwhelming, this infinite life that lives out there. But what they don't know is that we don't live in an infinitely expanding universe. That universe lives in us. This vast infinite life that you see out there is equal to the depth of the life that lives in here. That is the formula: infinite life out there and infinite life in here, in every single individual that life has created. So, this life, something in you is pressing outward, forcing growth, like the seed is forced to open up when it's planted in the soil to become the plant. Something in you is calling you out. It is giving you dreams of a bigger life. Something in you is coercing you and urging you and daring you to step outside your boring little comfort zone. That something is the infinite life of God that lives inside you. And listen to me carefully here, friends. It will not let you rest until you grow. It will not let you rest. One wise sage asked, "Why are you searching for enlightenment? You might not like it." You know, we all want to grow. Everybody wants to grow, but nobody wants to change. We want a bigger life and a greater good. We just don't want to be challenged to get it. We live with this fantasy. This spiritual growth comes from driving down in a limo, some smoothly paved road with no bumps and no challenges, and we just stroll down the road ever so gently, enjoying the view as we look out the window. And when it's all over, we throw ourselves into the loving arms of a big, snuggly God. It's all bunnies and butterflies. Ha! Ha, 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 ha. Nothing could be further from the truth. Spiritual growth is hard. It's awful. It is awful. It is horribly challenging. It'll kick your ass. And that's why practically no one does it. It is much easier to accept the status quo, to live with the limitations you've got, and sit in your comfortable recliner down here in Florida in what one author called our state God's waiting room until you die. Charming. Spiritual growth means to constantly, every day, meet your limited thinking and your bad habits. Yes. It means you have to face your ignorance and be willing to change your thinking. It means you have to grow all of the time, and there is nothing more uncomfortable than growth. There are no resting stations on the road to enlightenment. Oh, let me sit down and rest. There's no rest in peace. That's a fantasy. The reality is, it is work that never ends. Just like every relationship you have, it requires constant work and maintenance every single day. You are always working to expand your awareness of who you are and where you belong. You are always trying to find some way to get comfortable being uncomfortable all the time. You know what our biggest challenge is on this road to spiritual growth and awareness and enlightenment? You know what the hardest thing is? Because we come from religions that tell us we are worthless sinners, and we live in a world of unconscious, fearful people, self-worth, that's the hardest thing. Understanding your worth and your value and maintaining that awareness that you are worthy of the highest possible good, that's the hard thing. You know, we all have a ceiling of just how much good we'll let into our lives. And that ceiling is tied directly to how much good you believe you are worthy of having in your life. This is how you can check your self-worth barometer. It's how you can measure your spiritual growth. How much love will you let into your life? How many people will you give and receive love to? How much money will you let yourself earn? How high on the ladder of success will you let yourself climb? Listen to me, this is important. One day, if you stay on this path, on this rocky road to enlightenment, you will reach the ceiling of what your consciousness will allow. And when you reach that ceiling, one of two things will happen. Either you will break through that ceiling to another higher level of awareness and accept a greater good in your life than you ever could have possibly imagined, or you will sabotage yourself and you will fall back into the smaller life that you are more comfortable living. We all watched this play out on the Academy Awards this past week, right there in front of 15 million people. Will Smith was about to take his place, his rightful place, by the way, of only 4 other black actors who received an Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Sidney Poitier in 1963, Denzel Washington in 2001, Jamie Foxx in 2004, and Forrest Whitaker in 2006. He knows he's got it. He knows he's got it. He's at the pinnacle of his career. He's reached the top, that top ceiling of his worth and value. And what happens? He does the unthinkable. He sabotaged himself in an act of violence against another black man. No mistake, Chris Rock. What was he thinking, people ask. He wasn't thinking. He wasn't consciously acting. He was unconsciously reacting. He had reached the ceiling that I'm talking about, the highest possible good that you will ever permit or allow into your life. The day his biggest dream was about to come true, and he sabotaged it. But before you judge him, think about your own life. How many times have you gotten this close to the life you've dreamt of and done something equally stupid? How many times have you gotten this close to love, to that man or that woman that you've dreamt you would live your life with? How many times have you gotten this close and you find some petty excuse to not let it in, some rationalization to not accept it? How many times have you found out exactly what you need to do to heal, but for some reason, you just don't do it? On this rocky road to enlightenment, there are many challenges, my friends. Many challenges. And most people play them out in the privacy of their own homes. But some of us display them in front of the world on a stage underneath a bright light. That's what I do. That's what Reverend Skip does. And every other spiritual leader that tries to live by example. Every week, we get up here and we stand before you and we attempt to display the genius that lives inside of us. But we equally display the ignorance of our human ego and experience. We are all ignorant geniuses, just trying to make our way through this lie of duality. So have patience with yourself. Show some kindness toward others. Be forgiving. Because he was right. You are a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spiritual being, temporarily experiencing life in this very flawed and imperfect world. You are a multi-sensory being, daily just trying to find the courage to let out this infinite worth that you hold inside. And so ends the lesson. When I first came here, what I was really attracted to was our manner of prayer. I was most attracted to a God that we believe in that is not a deity that lives apart from us, but an indwelling presence. And having an indwelling presence, the source of all good, my next spiritual practice became meditation. We come together every week to sit in stillness and meditate together, to be able to sense the beauty that lives inside of us, the awareness that ignites our minds, the heart of love. Let's close our eyes and be together now.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in a stillness I find. Spirit,
The whole world is waiting for a sign from God, as if the sky were going to open up and a big, large hand would reach down. But the signs come to us individually every single day in our urge to live better. The sign comes every day in the longing in our hearts for love, in the joy in being together with other spiritual beings. God is not a far-off deity. It is an indwelling presence that surrounds each one of us as love, as joy, as ease, as abundance of all good. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The highest possible good you could imagine is here now. Let's take some time to set aside our small thinking, our low estimations of our worth and value that we have been convinced by the world to accept. Let's stop sabotaging our good. Let's open our hearts to a greater love, our minds to the very best ideas, and our lives to the abundance of nature. Let's be still now in its presence and know. Let's be still. It's a new day. A new opportunity for good. It's a new page in the book of your life. You can turn the page and leave the past behind. You can start anew. Just because you decide to. Because it really is true that God is your source. God is your power. And you, my friend, with you in truth, no matter what life appears to be, all is well. All is well. And so it is.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in a stillness I find. Spirit meets me there, Spirit meets me there.
Close our service as we always do with our affirmation of the day. You get to take this with you as an extension of our service. Would you say it with me aloud, please? I am a multi-sensory expression of the divine. I am one with the universe, and all my needs are met, and so it is. Let's know this together. We are surrounded, immersed, and embraced by love. We live in power. We go in grace, and the highest possible good we can imagine in our minds and hearts is available to us right now in this instant. We turn away from lower expectations and small estimations of our worth and value and begin to see the reflection in the mirror as God sees us as another opportunity for a beautiful life. We are multi-sensory beings living in an infinite universe that is programmed for good. This truth is established in our minds and hearts and becomes the driving force that creates our new consciousness and our new experience. We are blessed, and so it is. Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.